Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. This Saturday is UFC 278. In the main event, we have Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards 2 for the welterweight title. And this is a fight 7 years in the making. And I believe a lot of people are overlooking this matchup because they don't perceive Leon Edwards to be a legitimate threat to Kamaru Usman. But I believe he is. I believe that Leon Edwards could be the guy. It would not shock me if Leon Edwards is the guy to dethrone Kamaru Usman after all these years. And this is a fight that is two of the best 170-pounders in the world. And this is an interesting matchup. I cannot believe people aren't excited for this matchup. I am dying to see Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards too, and I cannot wait for Saturday. So if you look at the tail of the tape, you have Kamaru Usman, who is 35 years old. Leon Edwards is 30 years old. Usman is 6 foot tall. Edwards is 6'2". Usman has a 76-inch reach, and Leon Edwards has a 74-inch reach, so a slight reach advantage for Kamaru Usman. If you look at Leon Edwards, he has 23 pro MMA fights, 19 wins, 3 losses. Of those 19 wins, 6 by knockout, 3 by submission, and 10 by decision, so he primarily wins via decision. And if you look at his current win streak, he's on a 9-fight win streak with a no contest against Belal Muhammad thrown in there. And there's a lot of people claiming that Leon Edwards does not deserve a shot at the title. And I think Leon Edwards unequivocally deserves a shot at the title. I'm not happy that he earned a title shot by beating Nate Diaz. But Leon Edwards is on a good win streak against okay competition. I get that it's not the best competition. I would have liked to seen against some better guys on his resume. But at the end of the day, people forget. December of 2020, Leon Edwards was supposed to fight Khamzat Chimaev. January of 2021, Leon Edwards accepted a fight with Khamzat Chimaev. March of 2021, Leon Edwards was supposed to fight Khamzat Chimaev again, and then he accepted a fight with Colby Covington. And then December of 2021, he accepted a fight with Jorge Masvidal at UFC 269 that never came to fruition. So even though this 9-fight win streak isn't the greatest, he's accepted fights with legitimate competition, and it just hasn't come to fruition. And that's super unfortunate, but at the end of the day, there's nobody else in the division right now that is more deserving than Leon Edwards for a welterweight title shot. If you look at his last fight, it was against Nate Diaz in June of last year at UFC 263. And in this fight, I feel so bad for Leon Edwards. He pretty much dominated this entire fight, and he gets rocked badly at the last minute and 10 seconds of the 5th round. Nate Diaz clowns him a little bit, then goes after him and isn't able to finish him. But at the end of the day, that's all people remember is Nate Diaz hurting Leon Edwards at the end of the fight. Nate Diaz might as well finished him in that 5th round because essentially that's what people remember for whatever reason. And that's unfortunate for Leon Edwards because he dominated that fight. He was slamming in leg kicks. He was landing good shots with his hands. He out-grappled Nate Diaz at every turn. And it was just one of those things where Nate Diaz has a cult-like fan base. He rocked him at the end. And actually, I'm of the belief that Nate Diaz, had he actually got on Leon Edwards and not given him like about 10 or 15 seconds by clowning him after he rocked him with the 1-2, I think there's a chance Nate could have finished him in that 5th round. But unfortunately, that's not what he did. And Leon Edwards won all 5 rounds, or bare minimum 4 rounds, and he won them pretty handedly. Nate Diaz was not in a lot of those rounds at all, and people just remember getting rocked by Nate Diaz, so it's super unfortunate. The fight before that, against Belal Muhammad, he was supposed to fight Khamzat Chimaev here. This was in March of 2021. He was supposed to fight Khamzat Chimaev. Chimaev pulled out. Leon Edwards accepted every fight under the sun. Colby Covington was supposed to happen. Colby didn't want the fight. It ends up being Belal Muhammad. Look where Belal Muhammad is now. And in this fight, Leon Edwards was winning this fight. I don't want to say dominating, but he was stuffing the takedowns. He was landing good shots. Unfortunately, Leon Edwards accidentally eye pokes him, and it ends up being a no contest. Before that, he beats Rafael Dos Anjos. I still think this is a quality win, but I get it. It's a former lightweight, and then on top of that, Dos Anjos has lost to everyone else. But I still think this is a decent win. And then you start to get in wins that I really don't think matter. Gunnar Nelson, what does that really mean? Donald Cerrone, what does that mean? Brian Barberina win, from 2017 has aged well. The Vicente Luque win was pretty solid back in 2017. It aged pretty well. But outside of that, I get it. The win streak is not that great. We're going to talk about the fight with Kamaru Usman, the first fight that took place back in December of 2015. We'll talk about that in a second, but let's move on to Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman has 21 pro MMA fights, 20 wins, 1 loss, which is just absolutely insane. He's on a 19-fight win streak. Of those 20 wins, he's won 9 by knockout, 1 by submission, and 10 by decision. And Kamaru Usman has been a super active welterweight champion. And it's been great to watch, and he's been fighting some good competition. I know a lot of people are trying to say he's beaten up, blown up lightweights. But come on now, this is still the most deserving guys at every turn, and he's been pretty active. You know, I know there's been some points where he's had injuries, but he's been relatively active compared to other champions, and he's not turning down fights. A lot of people were saying, oh, he's scared of Colby. He rematched Colby. His last fight was against Colby Covington at UFC 268, November of last year. And in this fight, this was a competitive fight. Kamaru Usman, I thought he was going to run away with it early. He had rocked Colby Covington in the second round badly, and it just seemed like Kamaru Usman was going to take over this fight, but this was a very competitive fight. It was a great fight against Colby Covington. Both guys had their moments. Colby stung him a couple times, but Kamaru Usman won 3-2. I know there's some people saying it should be a draw. It was a razor-close fight, but I really think that Kamaru Usman won. I think the right guy got the decision. Before that, he fought Jorge Masvidal at UFC 261. A lot of people thought, oh, Kamaru Usman's going to 50-45 him again. He brutally one-punch KOs Jorge Masvidal with the right hand in the second round. Incredible win. And, you know, nobody knocks out Jorge Masvidal. So it just shows that Kamaru Usman has serious power, because a lot of people try to say, oh, he's a decision machine. Showed he had serious power and finishing ability against Jorge Masvidal. And I get it. That doesn't necessarily mean Kamaru Usman's the better striker, but it just shows that he's evolved in his striking, and also he uses the threat of the wrestling to set up the striking. Before that, he beat Gilbert Burns. In this fight, he faced some adversity. He got hurt early, and this was a stylistic matchup that I thought was super interesting, because you had the jiu-jitsu and the submission threat of Gilbert Burns, where maybe Kamaru Usman doesn't want to take him down and go on the ground. That proved to be true. He faced some adversity early, got hurt by Gilbert Burns. He comes back and ends up stopping Gilbert Burns in the third round. Quality win there. Before that, he beat Jorge Masvidal on short notice. And this was a fight that nobody was really expecting. He was supposed to fight Gilbert Burns here. This was UFC 251, July of 2020. Gilbert Burns pulled out. Jorge Masvidal steps in, and he 50-45s Jorge Masvidal. And he got a lot of crap for this fight. He did what he had to do. He out-grappled him. He dominated him every round, and he won this fight. Before that, he fought Colby Covington back at UFC 245, and this was a great fight, and Kamaru Usman ends up stopping Colby Covington in the fourth round. This was primarily a striking affair, like both their fights were. When both guys have such great grappling and wrestling ability, it ends up being a striking affair. And Colby Covington has great stamina, and it just showed, because Colby breaks guys with his stamina and his volume and his pressure, not able to do it to Kamaru Usman. And not only that, this was a close fight. And knowing the judges nowadays, who knows where this fight was going, but Kamaru Usman ends all that, and he stops Colby Covington in the fifth round, which was incredible. I think I might have said the fourth round before, but the fifth round. Before that is when he won the title against Tyron Woodley. A lot of people picked Woodley in that fight. A lot of people thought Usman didn't even deserve a title shot. I was one of the few early believers in Kamaru Usman, and he went out there and he dominated a Tyron Woodley in his prime. Moving on to the original fight back in 2015, that's absolutely insane. These guys fought 7 years ago. It was in December of 2015, and this was actually a decent fight. And both guys have evolved so much since then, so I don't feel like you can take a whole lot from this fight, because Kamaru Usman is exponentially better, and so is Leon Edwards. But Kamaru Usman won this fight with his grappling, with the clinch work, and that's always been Kamaru Usman's strength. It's been the clinch work, it's been the takedowns, it's been the grappling. But over the years, Kamaru Usman has gotten better in the striking. And in this fight, you could just tell Kamaru Usman's striking was awful. Every time they had striking exchanges, Leon Edwards was able to land good shots on Usman, but Usman kept pressing the clinch, kept looking for the takedowns. And Leon Edwards had some success early stuffing him, but as the fight went on, it just went more into Kamaru Usman's favor. And in the third round, he took him down and controlled him a little bit on the mat and landed some good ground and pound. And Kamaru Usman eventually wins a decision against Leon Edwards. But again, I think both guys have vastly improved since then. And, you know, they're just completely different fighters now. I mean, not completely different, but they're just so much better in every aspect of MMA. So I don't believe you can look at the first fight and say, oh, because Kamaru Usman defeated him in the first fight, that necessarily means that he's going to beat him the second time around. So when I look at paths to victory for both guys in this fight, I think for Leon Edwards, the most likely path to victory is via decision. He's not a guy that has a crazy amount of power. He has 3 submissions on his record. That's not going to happen. And he has 6 knockouts. But the last time he's got a stoppage was forever ago, and it's basically against a no-name. I don't think he's going to go out there and stop Kamaru Usman. Now, maybe could he clip him as Kamaru Usman moves forward sloppily with his striking, looking for a clinch position or a takedown? Yes, it's possible, but I don't think that's very likely. I think if Leon Edwards wins this fight, he wins via decision. And if I look at Kamaru Usman, I think the most likely path to victory for Kamaru Usman is via decision as well. Now, I think there's a more likely chance for Kamaru Usman than Leon Edwards for Kamaru Usman to get a TKO or KO, but I don't think that's super likely. But the reason I say that is because if you're getting rocked by Nate Diaz, if Kamaru Usman lands that right hand that he landed on Jorge Masvidal, if he lands that on Leon Edwards' chin, he is going to put Leon Edwards to sleep. But I just don't think that's super likely. I think if Kamaru Usman wins this fight, he wins by decision. I think if Leon Edwards wins this fight, he wins by decision. With all that being said, my official prediction is Kamaru Usman via unanimous decision. And I just look at their skill set. I think Leon Edwards is a far superior striker to Kamaru Usman, but Kamaru Usman has gotten better. But I believe where Kamaru Usman makes up for that is with his power and with his ability to wrestle, because it affects guys. It doesn't matter if you're the better technical striker. When you have to worry about a takedown, you're going to make mistakes on the feet. I always use this example. Khabib Nurmagomedov, Conor McGregor. There's no one out there that thinks Nurmagomedov is a better striker, but Nurmagomedov was able to drop Conor McGregor because the threat of the grappling. And I believe the threat of the grappling from Kamaru Usman will be enough to keep Leon Edwards not super active. I mean, he's not a guy that's throwing out a lot of volume anyway, but I think the threat of the wrestling will kind of cause, issues for Leon Edwards. And then on top of that, the threat of the power from Kamaru Usman. You do not want to get clipped by a big right hand from Kamaru Usman. And I just really believe that in this fight, Leon Edwards will have some moments, but at the end of the day, Kamaru Usman will do what he has to do. I believe he will initiate the clinches. He will push Leon Edwards against the cage. And whether it's a super exciting fight or not, I just think Kamaru Usman will find a way to win rounds. I think he'll get Leon Edwards down. I think he'll have trouble early getting Leon Edwards down, but he'll still be in the clinch position, knee in the thighs, doing the foot stomps that's become memeable for Kamaru Usman. And I think Usman will just continue to win rounds. And then also, you look at the stamina of both guys. Leon Edwards went 5 rounds against Nate Diaz. And while that sounds great, the last 2 rounds weren't particularly great for him. He won the 4th round, but he kind of looked tired. And then in the 5th round, he looked tired and he ended up getting rocked because of it. And Leon Edwards versus Nate Diaz is a whole different beast than Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman, because Kamaru Usman has unbelievable stamina to the point that everybody thinks he's on EPO because of his stamina. He puts a pressure on guys, and regardless of the volume that Kamaru Usman throws, he still is able to continue to put that pressure on you. So in those 4th and 5th rounds for Leon Edwards, I just don't know, how he's going to be able to pull out those rounds. So even if, let's say, Leon Edwards is able to keep Kamaru Usman off of him for the 1st or 2nd round, he's chopping at the legs, he's pumping the jab, he's circling around the cage, he's defending some takedown attempts, I just don't see Leon Edwards being able to keep that up for rounds 3, 4, and 5. I don't think it's super likely. And then also, Leon Edwards isn't a big volume guy anyway. He just goes out there and does what he has to do. He chops the legs, he pumps the jab. He's a pretty good technical striker, but he doesn't have a lot of volume. So it's going to be one of those fights where the round might be a little bit close, but Kamaru Usman now gets him down and beats him up a little bit on the ground or pushes him against the fence, lands some good shots to the body and the head, and wins rounds that way. And I could even see a Kamaru Usman ground and pound finished in the 4th or 5th round, because I believe Leon Edwards will have a pace pushed on him that's never been pushed on him before. Because in the Nate Diaz fight, going back to that fight, there wasn't a crazy pace in that fight. Leon Edwards was kind of super patient, just picking Nate Diaz apart for the first 4 rounds. And he was still very tired in that 4th and 5th round. And I think you cannot do that against a guy with the level of cardio that Kamaru Usman has. So I think in this fight, Leon Edwards will land some shots. I think he might have some early success where people are kind of like, oh my goodness, is Leon Edwards about to beat him? And I think he'll have some success in that 1st and 2nd round. He'll be able to defend the takedowns. But as the fight goes on, and Kamaru Usman's pushing the pace on him, he's pressuring him, he's landing some good shots of his own. Kamaru Usman has gotten better on the feet, and I believe the threat of the wrestling will lead to Kamaru Usman landing more shots on the feet than you will think. And I think Usman will put the pressure on him. He'll press him up against the fence, cause Leon Edwards to have to work out of positions. He will work out of the positions, defend takedowns. It will tire Leon Edwards out. And come that 3rd, 4th, and 5th round, Kamaru Usman will take over the fight, out-grapple Leon Edwards, take him down at will, beat him up on the ground, and eventually win at a dominant decision. I think people are going to be surprised in this fight because Leon Edwards is going to look good in that 1st round. I really believe that Leon Edwards is going to look good in that 1st round, but I just think eventually Kamaru Usman and the pace of him will tire Leon Edwards out and Kamaru Usman will take over. Now, if Leon Edwards has improved his grappling enough and his cardio enough, if I was confident in Leon Edwards' cardio, I would think that Leon Edwards could keep him off him for 5 rounds. And if Leon Edwards can keep this fight standing, Kamaru Usman does not have the best striking. Leon Edwards is worlds above Kamaru Usman just as far as technical striking, has good kicks to the body, has good leg kicks. I think he'll be chopping the legs of Kamaru Usman. That's one of Leon Edwards' best weapons. But I just think he will fade, and he's never had a pace pushed on him like Kamaru Usman will push on him, and that'll eventually lead to the win for Kamaru Usman. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Leon Edwards' grappling has improved over the years. But as of right now, there's no real evidence to support the fact that he's going to be able to keep an elite level grappler, wrestler, whatever you want to call him, in Kamaru Usman off of him for 5 rounds, for 25 minutes. That's a very tough task. So again, I'm going Kamaru Usman via decision, or maybe potentially late round stoppage, 4th or 5th round, TKO, ground and pound. But I think decision is the win for Kamaru Usman. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.